So someone wanted to know, can a cataract cause an RAPD? And the answer is no, it cannot cause an ipsilateral RAPD. But amazingly, it can cause a contralateral RAPD. So before we get to that, we've got to talk a little bit about what it means to have an RAPD. An RAPD is a defect, D, in the pupil pathway, and it's the afferent side of the pupil pathway. And so you have a defect in the pupil pathway on the afferent side relative to the fellow eye. And so that is what RAPD means. Because the lens is not in the pupil pathway, you cannot get an RAPD. So you cannot get an RAPD if you're in front of the pupil pathway or if you're behind the pupil pathway. The pupil pathway starts when the light hits the retina. Anything in front of the retinal ganglion cell is not in the pupil pathway and therefore cannot cause an RAPD in the ipsilateral eye. The pupil pathway then travels down the chiasm, the tract comes off and goes to the pretectal nuclei to go to the Ittinger-Westphal nucleus of the third nerve, and that is the efferent pathway. So this whole pathway is the pupil pathway. You cannot have RAPD if you are in front of the retina or if you're behind the geniculate body. No RAPD because you're not in the pupil pathway. So the cataract doesn't actually do the thing they teach you cataract does. The way they teach you is the cataract reduces the light, and that's not what happens with cataract. The whole purpose of the front part of the eye, including the lens, is to focus the beam on the retina. It's refraction. That's what it's trying to do. Focus the beam. When you have cataract or corneal problem, that diffracts the light. And actually, more light is hitting your retina, not less light when you have a cataract. Instead of focusing the beam is going all over the place, and that's why you can't see. That's also why people sometimes have glare, like too much light from the cataract. And so you might get an RAPD in the contralateral eye because this eye with the cataract is amazingly receiving more light stimulus. And that will cause a relative afferent pupillary defect in the contralateral eye. And I know that's difficult to accept, but if you look at papers using pupillography on cataracts, before and after cataract extraction, a lot of people have this contralateral RAPD. You just never noticed it before. And so can cataract cause an RAPD? Yes and no. Yes in the contralateral eye, no in the ipsilateral eye, because it's not in the pupil pathway.